Oftentimes, as you work with collections or you work in a museum, in my case, where I'm working in Built Heritage, we are asked, what's your favorite feature of the house, or what's the coolest thing that you have in the collection, or what's your favorite thing in the collection? It's a little bit like asking somebody to say, which one of your 3 kids is your favorite kid? There's just no such thing, because everything really has its own intrinsic value. Sometimes you get things that are really pretty and they have aesthetic value or something like that, but oftentimes for me, I think it's about the stories that come with each artifact. An artifact can sometimes be really, rusty and look old, or they'll have wormholes or something in them, but it's the story that comes with it. So the intangible heritage that comes with the tangible artifact. In Trethewey House, we have lots of interesting features of the house and stuff, but I thought I would show you one of those artifacts that kind of seems very simple to most people, but to me, it's special because of the story that comes with it. So I'm going to show you the vacuum flap. It looks like this. And a vacuum flap is simply a little sort of clamshell that it opens up and for you to put your tobacco into. They're made out of Bakelite, and this particular one, this company is from the One Up company in the UK, in England. This slides easily in and out of your pocket. And it's then the fake ebony. The reason why I think it's a cool thing, it's not just that, vacuum flap, can there be a better name? But also the whole history of tobacco in Abbotsford is, we don't talk about that a lot. In terms of built heritage, we still have 2 tobacco kilns on Sumas Prairie, and they're the last 2 standing. And they're not heritage designated or anything like that, right? It's just oftentimes we'll get questions about, what are those 2 buildings that are out there? Those are drying sheds, right, for the tobacco. Tobacco and hops used to be a really big crop, a big industry for Abbotsford back in the day. So you may have heard about the draining of Sumas Lake. We used to have a very, very large lake. Right where Highway 1 runs right now across Sumas Prairie, you're actually driving across what used to be a big lake. You got lots of farms there now, but originally in the early 1920s then, when this was all drained, it took a while for people to sort of pick up the land and start actually cultivating crops there. The government encouraged us then as farmers to put in these sort of experimental crops. It's really fertile land underneath the lake like that. So one of the crops that was suggested was tobacco. So we had some Hungarian farmers that started to grow tobacco in the very late 20s, so like 1928, something like that. Started small with just the one farm, and then they became bigger farms because it grows well here. And so does the hops, of course. We still have hops, but we don't have so much tobacco. So how did that come about? Tobacco in Eastern Canada was a big industry, it was a big crop. You had big companies like Imperial Tobacco and a few others that were very successful in growing tobacco back east. It got to the point though where it almost became sort of this, like there were some ideas that maybe there was some collusion between the larger companies back east to do some price fixing and stuff and almost try to create a monopoly. Well, here comes little old Abbotsford, and we start growing this crop successfully. Now we're competing with them. So why do we not have tobacco now? Well, here's why. What ended up happening is that we had 2 different varieties of tobacco that we grew out here, but the bigger companies came out here and sort of offered a lot of money for this. So we never had a way to process the tobacco. So we would grow it and then send it east for processing. That's how the bigger companies got involved with us here in Abbotsford. Eventually then, they bought up most of the farms as well. And then the farmers that didn't really want to sell to those companies, they were intimidated. There were actual mobsters sent up from the US to come here and burn the barns. They burned farms. They threatened physical violence and so on and so forth. And then towards the end, what ends up happening is you have a flood in 1935. After a really severe winter with an ice storm and everything else, you've got probably some price fixing, and you've got this intimidation that happens. All of a sudden, your crop is burnt down. And so in the end, these big tobacco companies came in, took over the farms, burnt the crops to the ground, and off they went, and then resold the farms to somebody else and made money that way too. And well, that tobacco farm just became a hops farm or a dairy farm or something like that. We have some things in the collection, including some old actual tobacco leaves, dried tobacco leaves grown here in Abbotsford. That's why the Backy flap is special to me, because this is a spin-off. The artifact is a spin-off to show that tobacco was here, tobacco farming was here. And we don't have very much to show for it, but we do have this cool thing.